I've just been reading a news report about some American atheists who've been trying to get a public Christmas nativity scene removed because they say it makes them feel excluded and intimidated and offended and blah 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 bitty blah boo hoo hoo. Can't you just feel the emotional trauma these poor people must be suffering? No, me neither. Oddly, however, it is still enough to make you weep. This is what happens when atheism meets political correctness. I don't know if it has a name, but then it's so ugly it doesn't really need one. And as an atheist myself, I can't help but feel horribly tainted by association. And believe me, I'm as atheist as it's possible to be. I think religion is utter nonsense, and I claim the right to criticize, ridicule, and insult it as much as I like, but not the right to stamp out harmless aspects of it, which is why I'm a secularist and not a totalitarian. I have a copy of the Bible in my house because it's part of my cultural heritage, not because I think the Bible is true any more than I think that Shakespeare's plays are true, but I wouldn't be without them either. I like churches, especially the sound of church bells, and I don't want to see them bulldozed. But I do want to see the power of the church, not only bulldozed, but ground into a fine dust and buried in the deepest part of the deepest ocean on the furthest planet it's possible to find. Religion needs to be kept in check when it tries to step on people or when it tries to elbow its way into their lives uninvited. The Nativity doesn't do this. It doesn't even come close. It's part and parcel of the Christmas furniture. It's part and parcel of the culture that I and most people in the Western world were born and raised in, and it only excludes people who want to be excluded. It's not even as if it's a permanent fixture, like, say, the Ten Commandments outside a courthouse. It'll be gone in a couple of weeks. And yes, we all know that the story itself is ridiculous. The entire tableau is utterly balmy and worthy of open mockery and ridicule. But to claim that it sends a message of intimidation and exclusion and therefore must be banned is both infantile and sinister, and it simply isn't true. Yes, some people may choose to be offended, but some people are offended by anything, and frankly, they can go to hell. We get this crap every year though. If it's not from atheists, it's from leftist academics or some other equality Nazis who hate their own culture so much they can't wait to abolish it. This time last year, I remember linking to a story which at the time I thought was the most outrageous piece of social manipulation I'd seen for a while, where some idiots at a Canadian university, social psychologists they call themselves, I don't know what it means either, so I looked it up and I'm still none the wiser, but I'll be willing to bet that if all the social psychologists on the planet were to disappear in a puff of smoke, nobody would be worse off. Anyway, these clowns concluded from their scientific research that Christmas trees should be removed from public places because they make non-Christians feel, guess what? Excluded. And this inevitably damages their emotional well-being. Well, of course it does. How awful for them, and doubtless this also makes them feel terribly offended, not to mention intimidated and insulted and threatened, and, or let's not forget, marginalised. It sounds like a fate worse than death, doesn't it? Except it's not true, because I'm a non-Christian. I couldn't be more non-Christian if I was from Mars. And I can tell you that I don't feel in the least bit excluded or intimidated or threatened or marginalised by Christmas trees or carol singers or nativity scenes or any other Christian aspect of a traditional Christmas. I expect to see these things in the public square where they belong. Indeed, I insist upon it. And if they're not there, if they've been removed because some self-righteous atheist fanatic or some finger-wagging diversity fascist has chosen to be offended and get the plug pulled, that's when I feel excluded and marginalised and intimidated and insulted and terribly, terribly offended. And all this inevitably plays absolute havoc with my emotional well-being. So please, militant atheists and cultural masochists alike, please do me and everyone else a favour. Leave Christmas alone for Christ's sake and stop making fools of yourselves. Peace and a Merry Christmas to everyone, but especially to little baby Jesus.